Listen to this song. You probably recognize it. It's Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, performed at the Live Aid in 1985. This performance had an attendance of 72,000 people, filling up the 400-seat Shaw Theatre in London. This was a big event, and one of the most important parts was making sure the entire audience could hear the music clearly. The best way to project an instrument sound is by using amps. In this video, we'll be focusing completely on guitar amps and how they can alter the sound of an electric guitar. The first guitar amp was created in 1931 by George Beauchamp so that an audience could easily hear a guitar in a live setting. Most people know what amps are, and some have even used one before, but not many people know the science behind it. With or without an amp, if you strum an electric guitar, the strings vibrate and form waves of pressure in the air. If it isn't hooked up to an amp, you have to be really close by to hear any noise because there's nothing built in to amplify the sound waves. This is different to an acoustic guitar, where it has a large cavity which acts like a built-in amp. Now you may be wondering, how exactly does it work? Starting with looking at the guitar, you'll notice that right under the strings is a mechanism known as the pickup. The pickup is made up by magnets surrounded by a coil. When the string vibrates, it changes the magnetic flux around the magnet, which converts it into electricity. This electricity travels through the body of the guitar into the cord which connects the guitar to the amp. Your guitar cord is always plugged in through the input on your amp. When the electricity enters the amp, it will amplify the circuit 20 or 50 times. It then sends the circuit into the built-in speakers which play the sound. It's actually pretty simple. There's a lot more going on the mechanical side, but that's the basic idea. All of this has to do with sound, which we know comes in the form of sound waves. Sound is measured in decibels, which can be determined by a decibel scale. A decibel scale is a non-linear scale that describes the intensity of the sound waves. Most guitar amps are around 115 decibels. Along with this, you can alter the way the guitar sounds through the amp by altering the waves. There are different effects on the amp that can alter the way a wave sounds. A few of the things that you can adjust are reverb, delay, treble, and gain. Starting with reverb, there's a device inside the amp that is called a spring reverb. This creates an echoey sound by collecting all of the reflected sound inside of an auditorium or a space that you're in. Next up is delay. All that delay does is just takes the sound and repeats it at a later time. Next up is treble. The treble lets you adjust the high frequency sound that comes out of the amp. A good way to see that is by placing your hand on the strings and moving it back and forth. Treble just basically changes the sensitivity of the system. And finally, there's gain, which controls the input volume and how loud the guitar signal is coming into the amp. When it's turned up, it creates a lot of distortion.
Low gain versus high gain.
There's obviously many more features that you can mess with, but those are some of the main ones that can adjust how your guitar sounds. So that's the main idea of electric guitars and how amps can alter the sound. Amps are essential for any band if they want to produce a lot of sound for a huge audience. So now you know how it all kind of works. Thanks for watching.